we are getting a sort of answer out of Donald Trump in regards to why he didn't testify. Because for weeks we had heard how he would be honored to testify. He'd love to testify. He was absolutely going to testify. And then he would also rail against the gag order, saying because of the gag order, he couldn't testify. And the very next day, the judge shut him down and said, no, the gag order does not prevent you from testifying. It prevents you from talking about certain people in this case. But he said he was going to testify, and he never did. I mean, the defense rested its case after only 2 witnesses. So what happened? Well, Donald Trump said basically he didn't want to take the stand because the judge ruled that his past could be brought up, which is true. The judge did say that they could ask him about the E. Jean Carroll lawsuits. They could ask him about being found civilly liable for business fraud because, in a way, those things are relevant to the case. Now, how is E. Jean Carroll relevant? Well, in a way, it's relevant because he's paying her money for lying about the events that happened and besmirching her character. Well, you get to this case, and Donald Trump has said nothing, has constantly come out and said that the affair didn't happen, this and that. If you can prove he had a pattern of lying about things regarding E. Jean Carroll, you can take his public statements and you can convince the jury potentially that he was also lying in those public statements. As for the civil fraud case, this criminal case involves business fraud, calling records things they weren't, like this payment to Michael Cohen, the repayment for the hush money to Stormy Daniels. They called it legal fees, and it wasn't legal fees. Well, you get into the civil case where you find out he was inflating the values of his businesses when he gets loans and taking different books and taking them to the tax for when he filed for his taxes and would go to the assessor and make claims, for different valuations for property tax. Well, that is also fraud. And if you can show a pattern of fraud, it would lie to, the jury could infer then that it stands to reason he would also commit fraud in this case. So Donald Trump didn't want to take the stand because anything he had said in the past could be brought up and used against him in this case. And he knows how bad it would be, or at least his attorneys know how bad it would be for him. And on top of it, I think the one unspoken thing that Donald Trump didn't say is he would probably get up there and sink his case worse than it already is. He couldn't help himself. He'd start talking because that's how he is. He talks without thinking. And then he would say something that would either implicate him in this case or lead him to be charged in other cases. So it's no wonder he didn't testify, but he's making excuses about the judge's bad ruling. And that's just not the real reason.